ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुं मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो श्रीपादाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम राम। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today's morning reading. We are reading from chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. We're going to start from chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. So, chapter 4 titled as Transcendental Knowledge. It has around 42 verses. And Lord Shri Krishna concluded the third chapter by saying, Arjuna, you want to conquer or defeat your greatest enemy, unas kama rupena kanteya. It can be defeated, or it can be defeated by cultivating transcendental knowledge. So here no question has been asked by Arjuna, but Krishna continues to speak about what is this transcendental knowledge that will help you defeat kama. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Imam vivasvate yogam bhoktavan hamavyam vasvamanave praha manu ikshva kave bravit. So we'll do one thing. The first 3 verses of this chapter briefly speaks about the history and how is this knowledge is received. So we'll read the 3 verses, give you a little understanding of it, and then we'll look into the purport. So Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Lord Shri Krishna said, Imam vivasvate yogam. So this knowledge which I am speaking to you known as of yoga, you will see in Bhagavad Gita yoga word is being used again and again, and Lord Shri Krishna calls this knowledge as yoga. Therefore traditionally the scripture is also called as Yoga Shastra. Imam vivasvate yogam. Hey Arjuna, I gave this knowledge vivasvan unto the sun god, proktavan aham, I, avyam, by me. Avyam means imperishable. This imperishable science of yoga was given by me, Vivaswan. Then Vivaswan, Manave Praha. And then Vivaswan told it to Manu. And then Manu Ikshva. Excuse me, Manur Ikshva Kave Bravit. And then Manu spoke to Ikshvaku, King Ikshvaku. This is where the Raghu Vamsha begins with. Mahabharata talks about when it happened. So this is at the beginning of the Treta Yuga. So that's what Krishna says, text number 2. Then what happened? Evam parampara praptam imam rajrishyo viduhu sakalane mahata yogo nashta parantapa. Oh Arjuna, what to tell you? Evam parampara praptam. Eva means this. Imam. Eva, like this. Eva means thus, or this knowledge. Parampara praptam. Praptam is attained. You can get this knowledge of yoga, imperishable science of yoga, through parampara. Imam Rajrishayo Viduhu. And who is the recipient? Imam is this knowledge, Raj Rishi Yo Viduhu. So this knowledge is understood by Raj Rishis, not the modern day political leaders. There are several of them who have written commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, but no, Raj Rishi, who are the sages? Who are the sages among the kings, like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Arjuna, like you, etc. Sakalane hamahata yogo nashta parantapa. However, Sakalane hamahata yogo nashta parantapa. However, under the influence of time or in due course of time, yoga nashta, Yoga nashta ho gaya. Parantapa means, oh subduer of the enemies and destroyer of the enemies. Yoga nashta parantapa, the science of yoga was destroyed. Or really, the science of yoga given by Krishna can be destroyed? Yes. Because Krishna is Kalosmi, he himself is time. In other words, it was his will only for the knowledge to get lost, and then he is again re-establishing. You getting it? It's not that, Krishna's knowledge which he gave, just got lost on his own. Text number 3. Sa evayam mayatiyatya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktasi me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam. All right. So Arjuna may wonder, my dear Lord, that's all okay. We are at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Why are you talking to me about history of yoga shastras? Is this the time to talk about? So now Krishna says in third verse, Sa eva ayam mayatayatya. Once again, by me, this knowledge is reinstated. Yoga prokta puratana, the ancient, most ancient knowledge is been re-established. Arjuna is wondering how it is re-established. I am telling you. Bhaktasi me sakacheti. Because you are my bhakta, you are my dear friend. Therefore, rahasyam hi itat uttamam. So how Krishna is qualifying this knowledge? Puratanaha, avyayam, rahasyam, uttamam. In 9th chapter, verse number 2, again, Krishna would highlight what this features of his knowledge. So rahasyam, this is confidential. This is mystery. Uttamam, this is transcendental. The word rahasyam is used because it cannot be understood. Imagine if Duryodhana was a recipient of Bhagavad Gita, what would have happened? You can keep on thinking that's what would have happened. So rahasyam, this mystery can only be understood by, or you can say this knowledge, although it's an open secret, but it is still locked. But it is still locked. And what is the key to unlock it? Bhakta Nisakha. You have to be my devotee of. Therefore, at the introduction we had seen Prabhupada said this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is meant for devotees of the Lord. So like this, in the first 3 verses, Lord Shri Krishna gives a little history of Bhagavad Gita and why Lord Shri Krishna has chosen Arjuna to reinstate Bhagavad Gita. Or through Arjuna, Lord Shri Krishna is reinstating. So that's another way to look at it. Arjuna's bewilderment was the will of the Lord. It was a desire of the Lord. And the other way to understand is that why the knowledge was lost? Because there were no proper students like Arjuna. So they could not receive the knowledge. So Lord Shri Krishna withdrew the mercy. The knowledge was lost. And now we have a student like Arjuna. So through student like Arjuna, Krishna himself re-established. Alright, let's go back to the verse number 1, translation. We need another mic. The personality Godhead, Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed to Ikshvaku puppet. Herein we find the history of Bhagavad Gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The kings of all planets are especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from the material bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. So sometimes, or not sometimes, many times people may ask, why Hare Krishna Walas only have big people? Why they only have all educated people? And Krishna said, remember Rajarishayo Vidu can only be understood by the best of the people, not ordinary masters. If the best way of the people understand, the leaders understand, that it's very easy for their followers to follow it. That's the whole science about it. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge, in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality Godhead, the executive head of states. All planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens by education, culture, and devotion. So, what is an Hare Krishna center all about? What is an ISKCON temple all about? ISKCON temple or Hare Krishna center is all about doing 3 things: education, culture, and devotion. That's it. Please highlight. So if somebody asks me, what is Evolve Pune? Why did you start Evolve Pune? Of course, Evolve Pune we started because I'm in the corporate world. So in those days when I started the program, people would not, on the name of secularism, would not entertain ISKCON, which means would not entertain me. So I had to have some different brand. So that's how we started Evolve Pune. What does Evolve Pune does? Evolve Pune's goal is to impart education, showcase Vedic culture, and teach devotion. That is what we do, education, culture, and devotion. Interesting, huh? Everything in the Prabhupada writing just to take it and cut paste. You don't have to think too much about it. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human form of man. In this millennia, the sun god is known as Swan, king of the sun, which is the origin of all planets within the solar system, Brahma Samhita, etc., etc. The sun is the king of the planet. The sun god at the present is known as Swan, rules the sun planet, which is controlling all of the planets, supplying heat and light. He is rotating under the order of Krishna, and Lord Krishna originally made Vivaswan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is not therefore a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but is a standard book of knowledge, coming down from time immemorial. Even you may have multiple PhDs, but if you have not studied Bhagavad Gita, you are fool number one. No, I'm not saying that. This is what it means, right? You are still illiterate, okay? In the Mahabharata Shanti Parva, we can trace out the history of Bhagavad Gita like that. Lord Ram, I have already explained, Ikshvaku, Going to the next paragraph. At the present moment, we have just passed through 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, which lasts 4,32,000 years. Before this, there was Dwapar. Then before that, Treta. And then, thus some 20,05,000 years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita. So as I said, Mahabharata has a verse which says, this is not the verse, there is another verse like this, which talks about how it was spoken right at the beginning. It says, Treta Yugadao Chatato Vivaswan Manavedado Manuschaloki Dati Artham. Yeah, this is the verse. Yeah, that's the verse from Mahabharata. At the beginning of Treta Yuga. So Prabhupada is giving the timeline, which means somewhere around 20 lakh years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his disciple and son Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of the planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is calculated to last some big number. You guys can figure it out what it is. Of which another big number has passed. Accepting this or that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Bhagwan. A rough estimate is that Gita was spoken at least. My mathematics is not so good. What's a quick guess? 120 million? Sure. Alright, as it says. So in human society, it has been extant for 2 million years. It was re-spoken by the Lord again to origin about 5,000 years ago. I'm just going through the numbers and reading. If you need to really understand this, we can talk about it. How these numbers actually fit into that calculation. That is a rough estimate of the history of Gita. According to the Gita itself, and according to the version of speaker Lord Shri Krishna, and according to some faiths and religions, the world only was created 6,004 years before. On 24 September at 11 a.m. Some of the religious texts of the most prominent religion talk about it, So for them to survive, they have to call Bhagavad Gita mythology. It was spoken to the sun god Vivaswan because he is also a Kshatriya and the father of all Kshatriyas, who are descendants of the sun god, or the Surya Vamsha. Because Bhagavad Gita is as good as the Vedas being spoken by the Lord, this knowledge is called as Apurusheya, since superhuman. Since the Vedic instructions are accepted as they are without human interpretation, the Gita must therefore be accepted without mundane interpretation. Highlights. The mundane wranglers may speculate on the Gita in their own ways, but that is not Bhagavad Gita as it is. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita has to be accepted as it is from the disciplic succession, and it is described herein that the Lord spoke to the sun god, and the sun god spoke to his son, and Manu spoke to his son, Ikshvaku. Alright, so that's the history of Bhagavad Gita. How old and ancient this knowledge is, and how it all started. That's number 2. What happened? The chain, the disciplic succession. You see, the Krishna to sun god Vivaswan, Vivaswan to Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku in disciplic succession. And then Krishna says in text number 2, the disciplic succession was broken. Translation. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for saintly kings, because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demoniac persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose a need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself. Around 2022, 1965, which makes 35, 35 plus 22, which means, and similarly, it was detected 57 years ago that disciplic succession is almost broken again, which means there was no bona fide commentary in English. So 5,000 years ago, Lord Shri Krishna spoke this to Arjuna at the battlefield, and 57 years ago, if I'm correct with the calculation, right? 57 years ago, yes, Srila Prabhupada, the bona fide representative of Lord Shri Krishna, the commander in general of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army, spoke this on the battlefield of Maya at America. Venue was hippie land. Enemies were his students only. They were enemies of themselves, na? They were self-abusing. That's the place, and were re-established. All right. 5,000 years were detected by the Lord. Disciplic succession was broken, and therefore he declared that the purpose of Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment also there are so many editions of Gita, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. They are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Lord, although they make a good business in the words of Shri Krishna. This spirit is demonic, because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Lord. Since there is a great need of an edition of Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara, disciplic system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want, need. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculation, it is simply a waste of time. So why did Srila Prabhupada wrote? The Prabhupada answers. Text number 3. Why was Arjuna selected as a student? Srila Prabhupada, Krishna says, that very ancient science in relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend. I can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So if you see, Krishna had Arjuna as his first student. Arjuna was highly cultured, most advanced person in his character and knowledge. Character because he could say no to Urvashi, to whom Cupid fainted after seeing, to whom all the Apsaras fainted after Urvashi appeared from the body of Narayana, from the thighs of the Narayana Rishi. When all the Apsaras and Cupid fainted, Arjuna said, "You are my mother." So there is any, you can imagine? So that was a student of Krishna. So Krishna is very selective to whom he gives knowledge. But the pure devotee of the Lord is not selective. He distributes his mercy. Srila Prabhupada gave it not to the most advanced people. Srila Prabhupada gave it to the most degraded people. And that is the reason we read in the third chapter in one of the verse, the Lord Shri Krishna, do not disturb the ignorant masses. I told you in the purport, highlight in the end of the purport says, yet Krishna says, do not disturb the ignorant masses, but the devotees of the Lord are more merciful than the Lord. Remember? Are more merciful than the Lord. And they go and disturb them. Hey, Hari, wake up. Read it. Like that. That's a good disturbance. Text number 3 purport. There are 2 classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as a recipient of this great science owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by the devotees. Some of them have commentaries by the demons. Oh, demons and devotees. Now when you read Bhagavad Gita as it is, then you'll understand who are the demons. Okay? Commentation by the devotees is real, whereas that of the demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And any commentary on the Gita following the first as Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demonic, however, do not accept Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Now, text number 4 onward starts another discussion. Now in text number 4, Arjuna would ask a question. My dear Lord, how am I supposed to believe that you instructed this to sun God around 20 lakh years ago? So what did the calculation, right, in the first purport? You and I only have age difference of 2 or 3 days. You are born just 2 or 3 days before me. Every year I have been celebrating your birthday. I'm damn sure about your birth year and the age. You're telling me, you spoke to this sun god 20 lakh years ago? I can't believe it. Can you please help me? That's text number 4. And then this question gives an opportunity to Krishna to speak about himself. So far Krishna has not spoken. So let's take a look. Arjuna vacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katameta vijaniyam tamado proktavaniti. Arjuna said, the Sangha of Vivasvan is never but to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed the science to me? Very important thing. Arjuna could have said, you cheater, you charlatan, anything you're telling me, technically, you would have said, I instructed the science to my grandfather. I would have still believed you. Would have been difficult if you would have said, your great grandfather. Close to impossible, great great grandfather. You have crossed all the limits. You are saying sun god. What are you talking? No, Arjuna doesn't say like that. Arjuna says, so if you see, he's not having a doubtful heart. He's just like, my Lord, really? He's amazed. The question is asked out of amazement. Oh, really? But how is it possible, my dear Lord? So, Papa, Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord, so how could he not believe Krishna's words? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality Godhead, or for the demons who don't like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as a Lord. For them only Arjuna is inquiring on this point. As it will be evident from the 10th chapter, Arjuna knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead, the fountainhead of everything, and the last word in transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as the son of Devaki on this earth. How Krishna remained the same Supreme Lord, the eternal original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is a supreme authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present, but from time immemorial. And the demons alone reject him. So who do not accept Krishna as a supreme person Godhead, they are called as, with a beautiful tag, demons. Alright? Anyway, since Krishna is the is the authority accepted of all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons, who always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone for his own interest know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the worlds. To the demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear to be strange, because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. And such demons will say, oh, how egoistic this Krishna is. He is glorifying himself in the Bhagavad Gita. You getting it? So much he speaks about I, surrender to me, surrender to me. Why is he speaking so much about him? So that is demonic mentality. And actually, Arjuna is asking, not Krishna wanted to speak about it. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna when they are spoken by Krishna himself. The devotees will always worship such authoritative statements of Krishna because they are always eager to know more and more about him. The atheists who consider Krishna an ordinary man may in this way come to know that Krishna is superhuman, that he is Satchidananda Vigraha, that he is transcendental, is above the domination of the modes, and above the influence of time and space. And devotee of Krishna like Arjuna is undoubtedly above any misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna putting this question before the Lord is simply an attempt by the devotee to defy the atheistic attitude of persons who consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being, subject to the modes of material nature. And now starts, you can say, wow, the most fascinating part of Bhagavad Gita. The pep talk, where Lord Shri Krishna speaks. This is like an introduction of the author. So Lord Shri Krishna is giving his own introduction in Bhagavad Gita from verse number 5 to verse number 9. So let's read the Sanskrit. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vayati tani janmani tavacharjuna tani ham veda sarvani natam veta parantama. So I'll give you a little bit Sanskrit outlook and then we'll come back to the verses and talk about it. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Lord Shri Krishna said, Bahuni me vayati tani. Bahuni, many appearances of my have passed away. Janmani tava charjuna. And so does yours. Tava charjuna. Tani aham veda sarvani. Tani aham veda sarvani. I know about all my past appearances and disappearances. Natvam veda parantapa. Parantapa, your destroyer of enemies. Natam Veta, yet you do not remember anything about your past life. So very first difference between Lord and living entity is made in the very first verse. Let's go to text number 6. Ajopi san avyatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya samavami atmamayaya. Lord Shri Krishna makes another very, very strong point. How I appear and how you appear. Ajaha, I'm unborn. Ajo, api means although I'm unborn. Avyatmaha, without deterioration. Avyam, imperishable. Avyatma. Bhutanam Ishvaro san. Bhutanam Ishvaro. Bhutanam, all those who are born in this world. Ishvara, I am their Ishvara. I am their controller and master. Apisan, although being so. Prakritim swam adhishtaya. Prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma maya. Sambhavami means appearance. Sambhavami yuge. I appear. How do I appear? Atma maya. In my same body. Self same. Atma maya. As it is. In the self same body I appear. Prakritim swam adhishtaya. Adhishtaya means situated. I am always situated. Where are you situated? Prakritim. In my divinity. I never give up my divine position or divinity or transcendental position. Even if I have to appear in this world, those who have been afflicted by the demonic commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, they say Krishna became human like us. He also took birth. It was a seminal birth, etc. No. Prakritim Swamadishta, I am always situated in my transcendence. Sambhavami Atma Maya, and I appear Atma Maya as I am. And such Chit Ananda. Who is saying? Krishna himself saying, text number 6. But when do I appear? Text number 7 and 8. The very famous verses, all of you would have seen Mahabharata. At the beginning of Mahabharata, Kal Chakra would come. Remember? And then these two verses are recited. Yada yada hi dharmasya lane bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya तदात्मानां सर्जाम्यहम्. जब जब धर्म ग्लानि होती है, हे भारत, ओ सियान ऑफ भरत, डिसेंडेंट ऑफ भरत, अभ्युतानाम अधर्मस्य, जब जब अधर्म में प्रगति होती है, तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्, तदात्मानं, उस समय सृजाम्यहम्, मैं स्वयं आता हूँ. टेक्स्ट नंबर 8. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. और मैं स्वयं जब अवतरित होता हूँ, परित्राणाय साधूनां, साधुओं की रक्षा करता हूँ, विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां, जो दुष्ट हैं, एथिस्ट हैं, या ये कहिए जो डीमंस हैं, जो मेरे ही शब्दों को गलत उपयोग करके लोगों को गुमराह करते हैं, मैं उनका धर्म संस्थापनार्थाया, और मैं धर्म की स्थापना करता हूं अर्जुन. तो इस कुरुक्षेत्र के युद्ध में दुर्योधन एंड पार्टी का विनाश ऑलरेडी डेस्टिन्ड है. वो मैंने ऑलरेडी निर्णय ले लिया है, और युधिष्ठिर का राजा बनना भी डेस्टिन्ड है, क्योंकि वो मैंने निर्णय ले लिया है. धर्म संस्थापनार्थाया, जब युधिष्ठिर राजा बनेंगे तभी धर्म की स्थापना होगी, कौरवों का नाश होगा. वही उद्देश्य से मैं आया हूं, और तुम लोगों का रक्षा करना. परित्राणाय साधूनाम. ऑल राइट माय डियर लॉर्ड, थैंक यू फॉर कमिंग. बट कृष्ण से संभवामी युगे युगे. पर ये इस भौतिक जगत के लोग इतने ढीठ होते हैं, बार बार उनके चक्कर में मुझे आना पड़ता है. एक बार नहीं, 2 बार नहीं, अनेक बार, अनलिमिटेड टाइम. संभवामी युगे युगे. अगेन एंड अगेन and again I can. Because whatever happened, the child may disown the father would never disown. I'm not talking about today's father-son. Father would be very happy, get lost. I'm talking about Krishna, the Supreme Father. And we come to the 9th verse. Janma karma cha me devyam evam yo veti tattvataha Jatvadeham punarjanma naiti maveti so Arjuna. Janma, a karma, cha me, mine, Divyam, which means transcendental. Evam yoiti tatvata, one who knows the truth about me, about my birth, not a seminal birth, about my activities, even Rasalila, they all are transcendental. My act of stealing butter are transcendental. They're not part of your mundane calculation. Tyakto deham punarjanma naiti mameti suarjuna. Such a person who knows this truth about me, when he tyakto deham, when he gives us his body, punarjanma, he does not have birth again. Then where does he go? Naiti mameti suarjuna. He does not have birth again, which means he goes back to the spiritual world. And the last verse, 10th verse. What is the advantage? What is the advantage of knowing all this thing? Of course, that you go back to home, back to Godhead. And text number 10 further speaks on this. Vitarag bhaya kruda manmaya mam upashitaha bahavo jnana tapasa bhuta madbhavamagata. Give up raga, attachment or attraction to sense objects. Raga, bhaya. And because of our attachment or attraction to sense objects, we are fearful. If you get a brand new car, rather than being more excited, if somebody asks you, you got purchased a Mercedes Benz. How was your previous night? I could not sleep. Why you could not sleep? You were so excited. Well, no, I was all through the night was fearful. I hope nobody would scratch my car. No kuttas should, no dogs should scratch, no child should, take a key and scratch. So that is what raga, your attachment will bring fear. And to protect your attachment, but naturally there will be an anger. Give up. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mam upashrita. When you give up this, then manmaya mam upashrita. In other words, you can say one way. If you give up these things, you can wholeheartedly take shelter of the Lord. And you can put it other way around. Manmaya mam upashrita, when you take shelter of the Lord, but naturally you become free from raga bhayankur. Bhavo jnana tapasa. Bhavo means many. Jnana and tapasa. Bhuta madbhavamagata. Being purified by this kind of spiritual knowledge and the penances, which means spiritual lifestyle. Bhuta means purified. Madbhavamagata. They attained my nature. Bhava, agataha, to attain. Madbhavam, they attained to my nature, which means they came back home, back to Godhead. Like that. So first reference of coming back home, back to Godhead was in second chapter, the last verse, 72nd. And now fast forward, it's over here. Third chapter, I don't think so there was, but now in this chapter, we have here in the 10th verse like this. So what is raga, bhaya, krodha means? Raga means materialism. Bhaya means impersonalism, right? Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And Krodha means Buddhism. So Buddhism, it's born out of complete, hatred for this world. This is all false. Nothing exists. No relationship. Nothing. Shunyavadi. They want to, they just want to destroy their existence. Bhaya leads to impersonalism. They're so fearful of any relationship. No, I don't want anything. Om Shanti, Shanti. And raga leads to materialism. So when we give up materialism, impersonalism, and our Buddhistic tendencies, then is when manmaya mam upashrita, that is the time when we can take wholehearted shelter of the Lord, or else when we be taken the shelter of the bona fide Guru, and through which we begin to follow sadhana bhakti, but naturally we get purified of our materialism, our impersonalism, and our Buddhistic tendencies. Hare Krishna. With that, we kind of conclude here. Time is up. It's 7:15. So, why don't we have a homework for all of you today? So, your homework is to read the purports. Read the purport from text number 5 to text number 10. So, when we meet tomorrow, I would only briefly speak the key points Prabhupada highlights. I would not read the whole purport. Is that all okay for all of you? Give me a quick thumbs up. Are you all gonna read the purport? so that in this lifetime we'll be able to finish Bhagavad Gita. The reason is, I have time in this month. Next month onward, I don't know what my schedule. Well, of course, I'll be there. We'll have something going on in the morning. But let's come together. We'll read something together, and you read something later in the day. And I come back and give you a whole brief summary of Prabhupada. And we'll read Prabhupada only nonetheless. I'll say this is the key points like that. So all of you please do that, and we shall catch up tomorrow morning once again. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita